What's up, everybody? Welcome to a Truth About Him podcast, number one podcast, mental health and wellness. I'm Anthony.
I'm Ben.
Welcome to the show. Welcome to another week. We are in here making things happen. So we had a good laugh before the cameras rolled.
We had a great laugh, yeah. Outtakes like a mug.
Like a mug.
But we gonna flip it. How was your week, bro?
That's why we were laughing.
Yeah.
I had an interesting, I'm just say, had an interesting 420 unknowingly. Didn't know about it. But I was kind of like, fell into it. But it was an adventure. But other than that, the week was pretty peaceful, bro. Nothing major. I was down for about 2.5 days.
4, 5, yeah, about 3, about 2 days,
about 2 days,
3 days.
But I'm back. We here.
Welcome.
Welcome back. So, but yeah, how was your week?
I think the week has been the theme of the week is steady progress. Not too fast, not too slow, just correct for the week at that particular time. So I'm learning that steady progress is better. It's better than no progress.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Awesome.
Yep.
So we're here with another topic, and this one is pretty interesting, right? So you want to know here we're talking about.
What are we talking about?
The good man's blind spot, missing the important moments that matter, or missing the moments that matter. When you sent me this topic, I was like, this is a pretty good one that we can dive into and make some noise about.
I think so.
Because I think a lot of men have this question, and it helps that we can also show the women what our blind spots are.
Yeah.
And to make sure that they don't miss those moments to help us, to encourage us, to counsel us, to make us feel like men.
Yep.
That's, I believe, a big part of our partner's responsibilities is to help edify us, not make us a man, but help edify us and feel confident in our position, feel confident in who we are and how we move. So, yeah, it's a good topic.
Yep, I think it's very important that we all have blind spots, whether you are, quote unquote, a good man or not a good man. You all have blind spots,
right?
And some of us get caught up. I know this episode, this topic is really hits home because I have that mind frame, like. That I get super protective. I get, I get focused on providing, and it just becomes like this sole focus, and you kind of lose. I used to equate it as blinders, having blinders on, and, you work to get to that goal and nothing else matters, and everything around you assume will be there. Yeah. You assume that it'll maintain and it won't wither off or anything. So, I've been a proponent of focusing, but at the same time, you have to also know when to take them down.
Yeah.
Because you look up and by the time you've reached what you've worked so hard to get, and whatever you did it for they're either detached from you. So now it's like, what did you do it for? Yeah. So that's one aspect of it.
One thing that I like, I like our podcast a little bit, right? A little bit, I like it. A little bit. And
it's all right.
One thing I like is that most of our topics, we don't do much research because we come and sit and talk as friends, and I think it's more organic. We research to a certain point, but our goal is to make this show and it's like a conversation. Because most people, everybody I've talked to about our podcast, they say that you guys talk as like you're having a conversation, right? And that's the goal. And I said to say is that when we first did the intro, I may or may not have jumped the gun, right? So talking about blind spots. So when you say blind spots, are you talking about our blind spots as men or the blind spots that people in our lives don't see?
Our blind spots as men.
Okay. Unpack that more.
If we go back and we get, so a blind spot, there's like multiple ones, but let's go to the one we were just talking about. That provider. We want to provide. Yeah. We want to, make sure that our sole focus is making our families better than how we grew up. I mean, that's ideally that's what we have to compare it to.
Right.
We want it better than us, and we focus so hard on that, and we lose out. Sometimes we're not present because we are so focused on getting
Okay.
We want to we want to make sure that everything is okay. We're fixers. We want to make sure
Right.
everything is good. But at some point, your presence is more important. I can think when Sean doesn't really care how many hours I worked. You know, he were you there for my games? Were
Yeah.
you there for my graduation? Were you
Mhm.
there for um, some of his ceremonies that he had? You
Yeah.
know, some of them I missed because I was working. I was
Yeah.
focused on making sure that things were better. Um, I would say I made most of them, buddy. Wouldn't you think so? I made most of them. Yeah, I made most of them, but there were times where the sacrifices were okay. In order for me to make tomorrow, I gotta basically work double
Right.
the day
Right.
before,
Right.
or come in early the next day. There was compromises that I
Yeah.
had to make. So there's a lot of times where I was gone before they even woke up,
Yeah.
or when they came home, I was still gone.
Yeah.
They're like, well, damn. And then I come home, go to sleep, do it all over again. You
Right.
didn't even see them.
Right.
So you lose presence. You don't necessarily have that that father figure, or that thing that tells you to calm down, to relax. You don't have that in the house because it's always gone. That's one aspect of I've had friends of mine they pride themselves on being excellent fathers,
Right.
and they work, and next thing you know, I mean, it's we neglect our health because of it.
Yeah.
Because maybe we can't get the time off. Maybe we can't. We don't want to miss work. We miss work. We miss hours. We miss hours. We miss money.
Yeah.
Kids need shoes, or daughter's graduation is coming up,
Yeah.
and we're paying for prom night, grad night, champagne parties, stuff like that. So that stuff costs,
Yeah.
and it comes with an expense. So that's what I mean by some blind spots. We as men, we have to. Yeah, we want to be providers. We're not saying neglect responsibilities.
Yeah.
I'm not saying neglect responsibilities. What I'm saying is don't forget about you. Don't forget about you, because there's no you, nothing else that you are working for exists. So make time, go to the doctor. Make time to be present. Set boundaries at work.
Yeah.
Well, we need you to stay till closing because Mike didn't come in today. Absolutely not. My shift is from such to such,
Right.
and I need to be home for whatever. It might just be to catch a game,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
whatever, or catch my son's practice, or to pick my son up from practice.
Yeah.
So these are the things. That's exactly what I meant by some blind spots. We neglect that we too are family, and it's not just about those that we provide for. It's about us as well, because
Yeah.
if we're not okay, we can't provide.
Right.
If we neglect our health, and by the time we go to the doctor it's too late, you think your significant other or your kids care about how many hours you worked when they know you have stage 4 and you only have a couple of months left? They would rather have you in the time. So
I think you would too.
definitely,
Yeah.
you definitely will. But we get so caught up. We get so caught up in that focusing on just being a provider that we forget that we need to take time out for ourselves. We need to find out. I always ask some of my clients this, is like, what brings you joy? What did you enjoy doing 18, 21 years old? Think about that. And then do you do some form of that now? Do you do something like that gives you that feeling now? And that's the question that you have to give yourself an answer, because you have to find joy within self. If you can't find joy within self, then you're never going to find it. Same thing with looking for someone that provides happiness for you.
Yeah.
I remember you said something like that, as far as I'm not looking for XYZ.
Right.
I'm looking for whoever you are, and if it organically
Right.
meshes with me,
Right.
then we win it.
Yeah.
So I think that's what it is you have to also just remember that know you, it's like cutting the head off a snake. You cut the head off a snake, the rest of it is pretty much dead.
Yeah.
So those are some of the blind spots. We neglect our health. We forget about us.
Yeah.
And we have to learn to be, sometimes just be present in the moment with those that are around us, because you can never get time back.
Yeah.
And I learned that.
Yeah. That's a lot to unpack.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So for me, a few things with that. So we talked about health and taking care of yourself. A lot of men, like even me, we have this warrior mentality, right? It's because that's a part of who God made us, right? It's part of our masculine energy. It's having that warrior mentality. And in that mentality, most warriors, when they go out, they think that they're invincible. They think that nothing will happen to me, right? And it's a good mentality to have. However, you have to prepare for that. The more that you take care of yourself mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally, you will be more you'll be more invincible, if that makes sense, right? But a lot of men, like you said, neglect that part of themselves, and they just work. And I believe all of that work is not a part of God's design for us, right? Because if you read the word and you listen to God, and God talks about, I created you to be abundant, right? I created you to have joy and to have excess, and to have your cabinets overflow, right? Your cup runneth over. And I believe when we work working overtime, is because we have a lack mentality. We think that if we don't do this, we won't have enough. We won't have enough, and if we don't have enough, it won't be enough. And if we're not big enough, then our peers and our loved ones and our kids and our spouses will look at us differently, right? At least that's how it was for me.
That's pretty much how it is.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how you just went, if we don't do this, then we don't do this.
Right.
If we didn't do this, then we don't do this. We just go down this rabbit hole.
Right. And it's all mental.
Yep.
Right. It's all us. But if we truly operate in the way that God designed us to be, then we wouldn't have that lack mentality, because it's something that we impose on ourselves. But you're right, is that if we get to a point where we can't, when we're sick, our family and friends won't care about everything that we did for them. Now we're in a moment. So how come we can't now be in the moment now? Which we can, but we're not thinking about that type of stuff, right? We're thinking about, what, I have to get this bag right now, right?
Yep.
And you mentioned that a lot of your friends pride themselves on being excellent fathers. So what exactly is an excellent father? Is it? No, go ahead, answer the question.
That's a great question. What I mean, they pride themselves on being providers.
Okay.
Providing for their family, making sure that everything is that mentality where it's got to be better than what I had growing up. But my pushback on that is, if you are already better than who you were growing up, so anything that you do from that point forward, it's already going to be better.
Right.
It's already going to be, we shouldn't put, and we do this, but we shouldn't put extra pressure on ourselves to give our families the best than we had, because things are better now than when we were growing up.
Talking about better materialistically?
Better materialistically. Okay. We have more options to accrue capital. We have more options for everything right now. So there's multiple avenues to be better than you were. So I don't think we should put so much pressure on ourselves at the risk of ourselves, because like I said, I always say this, we are supposed to, have the weight on our shoulder. We're supposed to have that, because we're the stronger sex. We're the stronger, we're built, if you look at us, we're built to stand stronger than our counterparts.
Yeah.
We're built to. So with that responsibility, we still have to also make time for the reasoning why we're built that way. Know your strength, but also nurture your strength. If you know you have a beautiful garden and you never water it, and you just wonder, you just look at it and say, it's just a beautiful garden. Look at those roses. Look at all of those flowers over there. And you never water it. You never, cultivate it, it's going to wither away and die. So why would you not, if you take care of a garden and you want it to thrive, why would you not take care of yourself?
So if we're supposed to have the weight on us, supposed to have the more stress and carry more of a load, how does that help? How do we get better mentally then? Because if we have all this stuff going on, that kind of defeats the whole purpose of mental health, right? So how do we get better?
How do we get better is we know that sometimes we have to set it all down.
Yeah.
We have to set it all down. We know just because we're supposed to carry the weight doesn't mean we have to carry all of the weight all the way throughout the entire trip.
Yeah.
You have to be able to set it down. You have to be able to release some of that pressure, release some of that weight. And that's where our mental health comes into play.
Yeah.
That's where our total, complete wellness comes into play, because if you're always, the weight is on you, right? The weight is on you. You're the sole provider. Might not even be the sole provider.
Yeah.
It may be a 50-50 thing. But without your 50, the pressure of without that 50 it's a wrap. I don't think they can handle the pressure without my contribution.
Yeah.
So that's pressure. That's weight in itself. So it keeps you having to grind and work and do all of that stuff, and you never take time out for yourself. You never go to any doctor's appointments. You never make it to anybody's gym. You never have anybody you can talk to when the weight gets too much. When work starts to work your ass, and then you go home and you sit in your car for 25 minutes because there's so much stress. You have no one to talk to. You have nobody on your same wavelength, no mantle, no blueprint, none of that stuff. So how do you get better? You think that person is going to last and live longer than the person that's probably doing the exact same thing, but I have a place where I can go. I go to the gym. I make sure I go to the doctor. Maybe every 6 months. Maybe not as much as I should, but I go every 6 months.
Every 6 is good. Yeah.
Every 6 is
That's
great.
really good.
Shit, I go twice a year. But if you never did that, and it's less likely you'll be here to pick up your grandkids, to walk your daughter down the aisle, to do anything like that. So that's what I look at it. That's the difference between, I would say, holding it all in and not having an outlet. That's where our wellness, that's where it plays into to play.
I think the quote is by, I think it's by Maya Angelou, but if I'm not, I apologize. But there's a quote, don't wish that God made the load lighter, wish that he made you stronger, right? So if you're anybody who works out, knowing that as they're in the gym, lifting weights, they're running cardio, as they get stronger, that load gets lighter. Your run becomes longer and you're less tired. So that's just a repetition of keep going and staying consistent, but also muscles don't grow when you're working out. Muscles grow when you're resting, right? So putting the weights down, getting off the machine and resting and letting your body recover. And I believe that when you're saying, put down the weight, have someone to talk to, have the mantle, have the blueprint, have these outlets and people you can talk to, that's you putting the weight down. And when you put it down, you become stronger, right? You become stronger. So next time you go back, you know what? This stress and this issue and this breakdown is not as bad or heavy as it was last time I had it. Because most breakdowns, most challenges that come in life, as humans, it's the same shit over and over again. The same thing. And most people stay stuck in that same thing is because they haven't done the work to get better and get stronger to move past it. So once you do the work and get stronger, if it happens again, like, man, it's not as bad as last time. Now I know how to move through it, and then eventually it won't affect you at all.
Right.
Yep. At all. So I like the putting down and resting and letting your mind rest, because we don't do that. No. We're constantly on go mode. And if you're on go mode,
I know you're talking to me.
If you're on go mode, how do you expect to get better in advance? I mean, you may creep. No, let me ask you. So if you're on go mode all the time, Baron, how do you expect to get better and grow and complete this mission that you have?
Okay. I that's a great question. So that's why I stated earlier,
Yeah.
I'm putting myself
Yeah.
on restrictions moving forward, but I have to wean myself.
Yeah.
Oh, so I know my weakness is rest or lack thereof.
Yeah.
My how I delude myself is I'm working when nobody else is.
Okay.
You know, when everybody else is asleep, I'm working. I'm
Right.
thinking. I'm thinking of another angle, another strategy,
Right.
another something. I have something to always think about. So I don't have time to rest and sleep like everybody else.
Fake news, but go
That's
ahead.
fake news. That is fake news. So now what I'm learning is that rest rejuvenates and strengthens not only my body but my mind.
Right.
When I rest more, that's less headaches.
Yeah.
So I just ask myself, do you want to keep going with headache or rest the way where you should? Be stronger when you wake up and you can hit the ground running. Instead of trying to hit the ground running at 50%, hit the ground running at 90%.
Yeah.
You probably can go a little further. So yeah, so that's what I'm learning, that delusion of, you know, getting it while everybody is asleep is a delusion. And you can do it for so long, but when you do it as long as I have, you definitely, it starts to wear you down. So yeah, I'm pledging right now on the pod. That's big.
There we go.
That's big. That I will be getting more rest, and that's something we'll just have to tap in the coming weeks and
Definitely.
see how that's going. So
Definitely.
but yeah, I got you definitely. I got you definitely. So yeah, we're gonna definitely be getting better at that, so that you can be better in the long run.
Yeah. So I purposely put you on blast
That's fine.
because I want everybody to know that this is something that is not foreign to us as well, right? We still go through and we still have to manage what we are experiencing. We have to manage our days and our mindset and our capacity and our battery as well too. So it's something that even though we talk about it, we counsel guys through, we coach guys through, but it's something that we also go through ourselves too.
Absolutely.
Right? Because there is a level of mastery that we have to achieve. But a lot of people think that mastery is like hitting that level and you're done, right? No, for me, mastery is that recognizing the points you need to work on constantly to get there, right? Like that's true mastery. And I think if you work towards that mastery, you won't be in a position where you miss blind spots, you miss those moments, right? Because I believe an excellent father is really not what we do. We work, we come home, I believe it's the result in how your kids come out. It's the fruit, right? It's
that's
the
your
fruit,
legacy.
your legacy. So if you can look at them at 19, 20, 25, 30, or way up and see like, you know what, this is I see their lifestyle, I see how they turned out, and this makes me a good father or not, right? So it's a result of how your kids come out, because we can work and give them all the material shit that they want and ask for, and in a moment it may feel good, but after that, what else do you have, right?
Ask the Menendez brothers.
Ask the Menendez brothers. Ask them.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it is. So like for me, I make sure that I'm at those critical moments. You know, I'm at those events because I know that if anything comes down where I have nothing left, at least I remember that Dad was there.
Right.
Dad was there at my games, my meets, my graduations, my parties. You know, he was there, and for me, that's just as important as, even more important than making money, right? Because money can come and go, and we talked about that, but you never get those dates back.
Right.
You never get those birthdays back. Those events, that doesn't come back. So for me, that's an investment. It's an investment that I'm investing even if I have to miss making $1,000 that for that day at that time, for me it's worth it because I can go back and then I can make it up, right? And I always used to question why certain people took certain jobs. Like they took jobs that were less paying than a job that was paying higher.
Mm.
For example, I would wonder why there was this parent at my kid's school a few years back. Her dad drove for Uber, right? He drove Uber all day, every day, but he was at every single event, right? I'm thinking like, wow, why? Because that Uber job required him to make his own schedule,
Right.
right?
Yep.
Make money when he wants to make money, right? And then if he needs to take an hour off to go to an event, he can do that. So yeah, he didn't have this big ass corporate, jobs paying him $1 million a year. But if he had that, would he be able to be there for his kid?
Right.
I don't think so.
No.
Right.
No.
So after I saw that, I'm like, you know what? I understand why certain people do what they do because their whole purpose is to be there for their kids. I knew this actress who raised her kids. Her husband worked. She raised the kids. She stayed home. And she's like, as soon as these kids are done, I'm going out there to fulfill my dreams and my goals, right? So when last one graduated, she hopped right into acting, right? Right into it, and now she's doing well, right? She's doing well, but the kids remember everything that she did for them,
Yeah.
right? But now her and her husband have a production company where they make movies together, and the kids are off and they're grown, and she's now fulfilling what she's fulfilling. So when you have kids, when you have a family, I believe sacrifice right word. I believe adjusting to help them grow and be there for them so they see you physically and they hear you and they feel your presence. I think that's more important than actually making money. But I'm a firm believer. That you can do both.
Yes, absolutely.
You can set your life up in a way where you can do both.
Yep. You can absolutely do both. You can, because you make time for the things that you want.
Right.
And when you have kids and when you have a family, it's almost just like opening up a brand new bank account.
Yeah.
It's just like opening up an account. And whatever you put into that account, whatever you get out later, you'll get that out later. But you can't go and have kids and be distant and be gone and let the world and everything around it raise your kids and then wonder why they're nothing like you, or wonder why you guys don't share the same values, or wonder why they act like that.
Mm-hmm.
You just can't. So for that actress that did it the right way, she invested in her kids, and she doesn't feel bad about now going on and doing what her thing, because her kids are who they are now. She helped mold them and prepare them and essentially clear the runway for them so they can take off.
Yeah.
So now she's out and she's thriving and everybody's thriving, and the kids don't forget those lifelong lessons.
Yeah.
And it's great when you make it in a family affair, because now you can spend all the time that you want with them and grow your business.
Yeah.
So win-win. So there's absolutely ways you can do both and be productive in both and make sure that your kids are thriving while maintaining a healthy lifestyle for them. Healthy lifestyle.
Okay. What do you think of and I'm pretty sure I know your answer to this, but have you seen the Stephen A. Smith interview where he talked about how they say purposely, but I don't see my kids like I need to, because I'm out there getting money because I grew up with nothing.
Right.
So his kids don't really see him, and he's okay with that.
I'm never a judge, or I try not to judge anybody. If it was me, that's not something I would do, because however well off he is now, I'm sure he was well off early on in his life. He was better than he was when he was coming up.
Yeah.
So, whatever his reasons are, whatever motivates him to give his kids everything that they want and make sure that they have a quality lifestyle and able to go to whatever school that they want, and I'm sure he checks in.
Yeah.
I would say that I'm sure he checks in and stuff like that. But for me, I have to be present. I have to see them. I want to be able to see them grow and be amazed at how tall they got or how, I need to see all of that.
Yeah.
And sometimes, sending money and all of that stuff and making sure that they are financially okay, but how are they emotionally? How are they, are you teaching them, some things to look out for when they are choosing who they want to date? Are the examples, because girls pretty much look for somebody who's like their father.
Yeah.
So that means they got to know what that looks like.
I don't think I believe that anymore.
No,
because I look at my daughter's boyfriends. I'm like, nah, that's not me.
Yeah,
and maybe because they're young, but it's like I'm kind of on the fence about that statement. I mean, I used to be a hardcore believer, but it's like,
Well, I would say that when they're looking to settle down, when they're looking to their soulmate, when they're looking to be I do.
That makes more sense.
When they're looking for I do's, when they're looking for a husband,
Yeah.
they're looking for somebody that they've seen at the house, especially if it's someone of quality that they've seen at the house. If they've seen that particular male growing up, they're going to look. That's what they want, because that's what they've seen. Observation breeds imitation, nature, nurture, all of that stuff. So right now they're just rebelling, and they just like, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try that. But
I think they're just not them, but people, I guess in the beginning when they're younger, they get so caught up in the physical aspect of things, right? How they look. But like everything always reveals itself, right? And you're right. I think maybe over time, because I can see, like one daughter I have, her first boyfriend was like, I was kind of offended. No, I was very offended, because I'm like, that's not what I showed you.
Right.
That's not how we roll.
Right.
So eventually she got rid of him. But her boyfriend that she's with now, he seems to be more mature. He want to call Mike. Mike on the calls. So he's on our calls.
Okay.
So he's doing things to try to produce and be a better man and grow. So I like that aspect of it, but I can see the evolution. I can see her evolve it into, because she even calls me. We're in the calls, so I'm gonna put it in my schedule to make sure he's on. So I like that. So now I can see maybe her pushing toward men that are more like me. But in the beginning, I was kind of worried.
Yeah,
I was kind of worried.
I experienced that too. Like, this what you chose? Like, this is this?
Yeah.
So
but we gotta let them make their decisions, right?
You gotta let them make their decisions,
and be. I want to say be okay with it, but really accept it, because we never know how things are going to work out or change. Right? Because I know, because I used to believe that, and this was a delusion as well too. I don't know why I had this delusion, but I used to believe that it was impossible for a woman to raise a good man, right? I used to think that, right?
Okay, interesting. Why would you think that?
Exactly.
Yeah, I'm curious.
Exactly. Maybe because that's what I seen so much of, right? I'm like, and I heard so much of.
Hold on. You said that. I'm gonna break this down again. I heard you the first time, but you said that you had this delusion that a woman could not effectively raise a good man.
Yep. It was.
Bro, did you look in the mirror?
It was like I said, it was a delusion. It was a delusion, and I don't know
about that.
Yeah, and that's my point. And my point is that I had to look in the mirror and say, "Hey, hold up! This was your mom did. So how could you think that?"
Yeah,
and I don't know. I cannot tell you why I thought that.
That's crazy.
I cannot. But I know I'm just being completely transparent, right?
Hey,
I thought that, but I do believe it takes a certain woman. I don't think any woman can raise a good man, but a certain woman who has those aspects that can push him in the right direction to go out there and seek more about being a man. Because that's happened to me, right? So my mom had, certain aspects she taught me that made me curious about being a man, about being a better man, about becoming a better human, right? Based on her lifestyle of self improvement, of self development, of her reading and listening and getting coaching, all of that opened my eyes. So I believe that when she did that, that pushed me in the direction to become a good man, right? If she was the opposite, not improving, not getting better, not seeking a higher source, not inquiring about, is this it? Is there not more out there in life? I think if I had the opposite, then I would not be a good man in a sense, right?
Yeah.
That makes sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
So she definitely pushed me, but yeah, that was a major ass delusion that I had. But I'm cured now.
Okay.
I'm cured. I took the pill. I'm cured. I'm cured.
That's good looking out. Good
Right.
looking out. But yeah, that's crazy to me because my mom pretty
Right.
much raised me,
Right.
me and my brother, and she had her father was there. Like my grandfather was there.
Yeah.
Like he was there and helped out a lot. So he helped out with that manly aspect of the other side of me. But yeah, my mom was also like, no matter what you do in life, just be a good human being. It's easy. Just be a good human being.
Right. Right.
And that's one thing that always stuck with me. So, just whatever, you just treat people how you want to be treated and show people respect.
Yeah.
And then my grandfather was the other way, like, be true to your word, never say something you don't mean. If you say you're gonna do something, stand on it, and do that. So yeah, bro, it was like it was a time where I didn't talk to nobody that didn't keep their word. Like if you told me something and you didn't do it, I didn't speak to you no more at all because I was like, oh no, I can't trust you. I can't. I've gotten better now though. I've gotten better now because you can't expect everybody to operate on the same wavelength as you, and you got to give people grace and kind of meet them where they are, so to speak, and they have to meet you where you are. So
I learned that late because I think that's a big part of manhood is really showing your son or showing the one that you're counseling how to be accountable, and keep their word. I didn't have that, so that was something that I really discovered over like the last probably like 10, 15 years. I didn't think that was important to keep my word, right? I thought that, I can say something like if I get to it, I get to it, no big deal. I'll say this, right? And that was something that I struggled with for a very, very long time, but now realizing how important it is because that is a masculine what's that word? A masculine trait, right? Being able to keep your word and say, if I'm doing this, I'm doing this, and not just to other people, but also to yourself as well too.
Yeah.
Right. Because if you can't keep it to yourself, you can't keep it to other people. And I honestly struggled with that for a very, very long time because I didn't think it was important to keep your word, right? But now I'm like, okay, you know what? That's a reflection of who I am, right? Of what I learned, and even though I grew up with my mom and she did a great job, there were certain aspects of being a man that I didn't know about because I didn't have that male figure in my life. It was just me and her. I mean, there was no grandpa, no uncle, no anybody. So I know that I missed out on certain things and I had certain experiences I shouldn't have had because I didn't have a male figure there, right? But that was a big one. It's like holding to your word, being accountable, say, if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do this. But that's pretty much new to me, bro.
Yeah. That's and a lot of people they'll sit. It's like, Barry, you're so quiet. Is something wrong? What's wrong with you? Like, why are you so quiet? You an asshole. You don't speak to nobody. It's not that. It is just basically learning that everybody speaks, everybody talks, everybody got something to say. But do you just talk just to hear yourself talk?
Yeah.
I can't stand that.
Yeah.
Like you almost have to have people tune out.
Yeah.
People tune out.
Yeah.
I had managers that would love to talk just to hear themselves talk. I knew that was going to be 2 hours of me in my phone. I'm not listening, you know. And when I got to that level, I said I will never have 2-hour meetings. I will never have that.
It's excessive.
I will never have that. And those 2 hours, by the time I got there, they turned to like 30, 35 minutes. I'm like, this is what it is.
Right.
It's only going to be longer if you ask questions.
Right.
If you don't have any questions, then we're done. I assume that you have it. Follow back up with you next week.
Yeah.
That's it. And it's just to make sure that what I've said, what I've spoken is you've gotten it. I understand that you have it. You understand what I'm looking for. What more else needs to be said?
Yeah.
You know? So, and then that comes from my mom, be seen and not heard. Just thought about it. Learn to be seen and not heard. Like, okay, all right. But it just creates humility too, and it keeps you able to comprehend and always be evolving and wanting to learn more, and just knowing that you're not the smartest person in the room.
Yeah.
You know, you can learn a lot from a lot of people. I've learned a lot just by listening.
Yeah.
Just by listening. Like, oh, that's how you work that machine? Oh, cool. Put it in
Right.
to Rolodex.
Right.
Roll it in. But that's pretty much how it is, bro.
Yeah. I absolutely love the the learning aspect of life. As I don't believe that most people actually learn because they're talking so much. Especially us as men, we want to be in a spot where we know everything, right? And it's been a common joke or theme for years. Men don't ask for directions. I'm the first one. Before GPS or before Siri, I would pull over and say, "Hey, where is this? Where is that?" Because I don't care. I mean, I want to know where I'm going. And even right now, I think I could be in the Study Brothers. Where's the toothpaste aisle? I will ask a question because I want to know, and because I know that they're in that store. They've been there for years. They know where everything is. So why not just ask?
And you don't want to waste your time.
You want to waste your time because we have better things to do, like shoot podcasts, right? It's
Right.
like,
I'm like,
if I'm running around the store trying to find something, I'm gonna be late getting here.
Right.
So I think that's part of learning, is learning how to be humble, learning how to ask, knowing how to ask it, right? Because how you communicate something is going to be a result of what you get back, right? So if I ask the person where the toothpaste was, and then and what I'm trying to say here, that's where the toothpaste was, and I went to aisle 10 to aisle 9, then I'm lost, right?
Yeah.
But I think we walk around being lost a lot, right? Because we don't want to ask questions. We don't want to pretend.
It's our ego.
We don't want to show everybody that we are wrong. We don't know it all. But that's not something I've ever had a problem with.
No, I've never had a problem with. One of the things I actually, when I was working, like when I was at Lowe's, I was like, I might not know what that is or how to get that there, but I know somebody that does.
Yeah.
So how about we both go get the answer.
Right.
You're going to learn something. I'm going to learn something. And then I'll take that to my next experience, Then I can be able to say, oh, yeah, you used a lug nut or you used a blah, blah for that, whatever. And then you've, again, put it in your toolkit.
Yeah.
You just have it to use when it comes up again. You know it's going to come up again.
Yeah.
But I've never, I might not know the answer, but I can figure it out, and I don't mind figuring it out.
Yeah. And I think that goes back to the important moments in life, right? And you when we're talking, you turn to Sean and say, "Hey, I made most of them, right? The ones that you didn't make, do you remember, thinking back, how did you feel about that? Was it something that was in your spirit? Did it come and go? Was it secondary? Was it
it was constantly present. When I would miss his games, when I was at work, I would be like, okay, it's 8:00. It's probably fourth quarter now.
Gotcha.
I wonder if they won. I don't want to ask them until I get home.
Yeah.
Or like maybe I'm leaving work late and I got to get to his game,
Yeah.
and his game started an hour early, and so now I'm gonna get there probably maybe the third quarter.
Yeah.
So it's after halftime. He and I have an understanding at halftime. There's a connection, a communication that we have. Like, you know, that was wild.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that was wild. That was wild. But it was more like, all right, you know, set him up with the right and attack left.
Right.
You know, he only goes one way. Stay on his left side. Stay on his right side.
Right.
These are things that we would communicate with at halftime. And I swear, if I wasn't there, I'm like, damn, he's not gonna know that.
Yeah.
He's not. So, yeah, those are the things that was constantly present while I was at work, and I was like, I got to figure out a better way to, you know, I'm not missing no more games.
Yeah.
So my thing was, as long as I tell you ahead of time that I'm not going to be here, that gives you enough time to work around it.
Right.
So I made it more a point to like, let me get your schedule. I need your schedule as soon as you get it. I need it. I don't care how early you get it, but I need your schedule so that I can incorporate it with mine. And that's how I kind of counteracted missing some of his games. I may pick and choose some of the ones I missed, but it was like, okay, I'm going to miss that one. I might miss that one. And it was an understanding, you know, I'm sure he wasn't tripping.
Yeah.
I was the one that was like, damn, I don't want to miss no games.
Yeah.
But, you know, I made more than I missed.
So that the halftime communication that you guys had, that's when you were there. When you were not there, did he perform better, the same, worse? When you were there? Because I'm asking because I'm thinking that could that be a crutch, like you being there to?
It was complete. He performed about the same.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe he would do something. He would explode in the game as far as like go off in points or rebounds, and then I'd be like, damn, I'm mad I missed it.
Gotcha.
You know, it'd be me that'd be living in regret, like, damn, I wanted to see that. Like, all right, I'm gonna make the next game. I want that same smoke.
Yeah.
Realistically, you might not get that, you know, but and then it puts unexpected pressure on him too. Like, all right, my dad's here now. I gotta go for 20 plus because I gotta get it because he's here.
Yeah.
No, it's not necessarily that. Go out there and have fun, play ball.
That's the question that I had because my daughter played basketball as well, and last season I missed the game. Right, so I missed the game, and I've been to every game. I missed this one. So afterwards, the coach texted me. I said, "Yeah, your daughter, she didn't do too well because she kept looking in the stands looking for you, right?" And I'm like, "That's definitely flattering because I see how much she values my presence. However, I still need her to perform when I'm not there." Right, because again, it's a life lesson. Sports for me teaches life lessons.
Absolutely.
So, you know, if I'm not there, are you still going to do good? Right, that's a big question that I have, and I'm gonna say yes because I just think it was just muscle memory, right? Because like when she's on the court, I'm talking to her during the game, right? So she can hear me.
So she can hear you.
She can hear me. So I guess her not hearing my voice that day kind of like threw her off.
Yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
But even after that, she still performed well because now I'm like, you know what? I may not be at every single game. I'm gonna make most of them. Probably 98%. I'm gonna be there. But when I'm not there, you still have to perform because now the one day I won't be here at all. Right. So you have to perform regardless. That's why I asked you about you and Sean because I first thought that for her that may have been a crutch, but thinking back to it, it was just muscle memory. Her looking to hear my voice, right?
Yeah. With Sean, it was more of that was an added bonus or communication at halftime, but he knew how to stay locked in, how to get locked in. Just on the strength of that starts from the time you wake up that morning.
Yeah, right.
You know, you start getting more and more locked in as the day goes on. By the time, you know, midday comes, like you are totally locked in. And by the time it's game time, now it's just go out there and have fun.
Right.
And just go play ball and let the chips fall where they may. So, yeah, for him, it was a gradual step because I've always been the type to work in increments, compound those good habits because it's too overwhelming to be, all right, my game starts at 4:30. Let me start getting ready at 4 o'clock. mentally.
Yeah.
Let me start getting locked in at 4 o'clock mentally. Let me start focusing. That takes a lot. And then you're creating habits of procrastination. You're creating habits of my assignment isn't due until Friday. Let me start working on it Thursday. As opposed to if you knew it was due if you knew Monday you had an assignment due Friday, you can do small increments leading up to Friday, and then this way you're not overwhelmed.
That's so tough for me right now.
Yeah.
In my lifestyle. It's so tough, and it's tough because they're different schedules when they're with me versus with their mom.
Yeah, I can imagine that. Yeah.
So we parent differently. So the schedules are differently. I believe the expectation is different. You know what? No, I think the expectation is the same, but the way we go about getting that expected result is different, right?
Well, you guys are different.
Yeah, we're different. So having them with me, there are certain things that they do. And then going back to their mom's house, there's certain things they do, and they're opposites. So it's a challenge for me right now to get them to be consistent across the board because the households aren't consistent, right? And I think after a while we'll get there because it's still new. It's been a year and a half, maybe a year, so it's still kind of new to them. So I'm hoping that over time that they can take the traits that I'm teaching them on waking up and performing and taking care of their bodies and eating right and doing that stuff, to take that and they can carry with them themselves over there, because I believe that they're old enough, right? Being 17, 15, and 13, I think they're old enough to maintain some consistency once they leave here.
Yeah.
Right. And if they're not, then it's like questioning, okay, like, what are you guys thinking? Like, because you're not babies anymore.
No.
Right? You're not babies. So
Not at 17.
not 17. Well, my 17-year-old is good. She maintains.
Okay.
Yeah, she does. It's my 15 and 13-year-old. Those are the two that kind of like fall off. Right.
Then they should be following the lead of the 17-year-old.
That's the plan. that's the goal.
Yeah.
But at times they don't, right? But I look at it as that, as it being up to me to make sure that it's the repetition. I'm constantly instilling these things into them when they're here, over the phone, over text, because just because they're not with me, for my week doesn't mean that I don't see them or don't talk to them.
Right.
So like I saw them, like right now, it's their mom's week, right? So, but I saw him yesterday. I'll see him again today. I talk to him. I text him. So that presence and influence is still there, but I just got to make sure that I maintain, hey, these are the things that you need to do, because now everything you're doing now, you're being set up for your life.
Yeah. Yep.
How you perform.
Yep.
Because once you go to college, I'll be available by phone call, by text, by FaceTime. FaceTime. I don't think you know what that is.
I know what FaceTime is.
FaceTime, but you have to have certain habits that you implement into your life that will make sure that everything you do is easier.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Easier.
Yep.
So yeah, that's why right now it's kind of like a challenge for me right now.
Discipline. I mean, 13 and 15, that's the hardest thing for them at that age, because all of these, they want instant gratification.
When they're here, they do it though. When they're with me, they do it.
No, that's because it's a constant. You set the structure, you set the non-negotiables for here.
Right.
When you're with me, this is what is going to be non-negotiable. Right. So when you set that bar, and now when you take them away from that bar, they're going to test the limits. Yeah, they always going to test. That's their job, is to test the limits.
That resistance.
See what they can get away with, until they realize that, this is about where I want to be anyway. So let me just go ahead and do it. But our job is to stay consistent in holding them accountable.
Yeah.
And that's our job. And that sometimes can be hard. Why? Because going back to our initial topic, we get so caught up with providing that we're gone, and then we don't set those non-negotiables, and we don't keep those non-negotiables, and we don't let them know that this is it. This is as far as you can go with this, you know. But if you're never there to enforce it because you're providing the roof over their head, you know, I get it. But yeah, you have to set the non-negotiables and be present and be consistent as parents.
I definitely believe as they get older and adjust more to where we are, things will get easier.
Yeah.
And they're not hard. They're not hard. They're not hard at all. Now I just want them to maintain and be consistent for them, right? Because now they are again setting up their own life. So that's the main thing. Because I can do all the so-called right things when they're here, but if they don't maintain that, you know, it's going to be this constant dichotomy of back and forth, like, and that's where they came from, right? And I want to maintain that.
Right.
I want them to see a sense of peace and calm and support and saying, hey, you know what, this is how life's supposed to be. This is how we deal with the breakdowns and the schedules and the outcome. This is how we deal with it. So if we do it this way, things would not be as challenging. So I told them, I gave them a quote by Jim Rohn, and I ask him every often. And I say, hey, if you do things that are hard right now, life will be easy. Do things that are easy right now, life will be hard, right? So I ask them that constantly, and so then they forget, but it's just beating that into their head, right? So everything that you do, if it's super easy, it's like eventually it's gonna be hard, right? Do the hard shit now.
Yep.
So your life will be a lot easier.
Yep.
Right. And it's these things I try like instill in them, and I think it's working, right? But it's just being a constant in their life.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. And they have to just consistently, and you should always want to do the difficult stuff first.
Yeah.
Like I've always, you can kind of tell a person and you say, okay, we have all these things to do. Now, these are the hard things. These are the easy things. Which ones you want to do first?
Right.
Some people want to say, let's get the easy stuff out the way, build the confidence up to get to the hard stuff.
Yeah.
I want to do the difficult stuff first, and then everything else is cakewalk from here. That's me. But those are different mindsets. You can still get the job done, maybe, but you live in those what ifs. Like, what if you do all the easy stuff first, and then you finally get to the most difficult thing, and you either are at a wall, you just hit a wall, you just can't get it done because you can't figure it out, or it's too difficult and now you're frustrated, or you're too tired to focus on the little details. Just focus on the details first, get the hard shit out the way.
Yeah. I believe that.
Chill later.
I believe that. Yeah, because you set the tone.
Yep, you set the tone.
I prefer to end the note on the positive, end the day on a positive note, and end the day on a negative note.
Yep.
So, first in closing.
Fellas, give yourself grace. Don't get caught up in the rat race of being the provider and protector without providing and protecting yourself. Make sure that you set boundaries for yourself. Well, set boundaries to yourself for yourself. Yeah. It's not a mean thing. It's just you protecting yourself and giving yourself grace, because if you don't do it, who will? Nobody's going to come and say, pat you on the shoulder and say, woo woo, it's okay. It's okay. If it happens, great. Right. But if you live your life waiting for that and not giving it to yourself, then you're just going to explode. So
don't give it to yourself or explode, okay? Don't give it to yourself or explode. Gotcha.
Got me. Yeah.
I agree with that.
You agree with that?
100%.
100%.
So that is the truth about him.
Absolutely, bro.
All right, guys. Thank you for
crazy episode.
Thank you for watching the show. As always, you watching, listening is so important to us. So anyone that you know that can benefit from the show, please like, please share, please subscribe, and we'll see you guys next week. Have a great one. Peace.